What is up, guys? Justin here, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. It's a Friday night, and we're streaming on my channel. It's been a while since I've had an evening where I'm live streaming on a Friday night. Hope everybody's doing well and having a happy, healthy season right now for the Christmas and holiday season. So things are good here. Wanted to change it up a little bit, and on top of that, wanted to collaborate with a friend of mine who I've made recently within the past year, hanging out at Terrificon, and we were trying to think of ways to collaborate. We had come across a book as titled Aliens versus Avengers, and we just thought, I dove into it when it first came out. I loved it. He did the same thing. He loved it. And we kind of came up with the idea to, why don't we team up here and talk a little bit about the first issue of Aliens versus Avengers. Of course, we'll do the whole series as it comes out. If you guys are not familiar with this series, it's only 2 issues technically out right now. But the person I'm talking about, my good friend who really excited to talk this book about and collaborate and have on the channel is my good friend, Brandon, aka M.O.N Comics. Yo!
Yes, the buzzer. I need a buzzer. What is
man.
going on, Justin? Happy Friday.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Cheers, dude. Thanks for being on the channel again. And I was like, we gotta collaborate somehow. So I'm glad we were able to do this.
It's an honor to be over here talking 2 awesome franchises with you.
100%.
It's one that's very near and dear to my heart. Of course, I love Avengers. Everyone who's into comics likely likes Avengers, but Aliens, special place. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, dude. It's like we were talking about stage, like, Terrificon was a blast, getting to know you there and the rest of the crew, and we've been staying in touch ever since. And I love, reading the books, talking about them with a friend, sharing thoughts and opinions, and and even having questions of my own, because there's definitely some things in this book that I wasn't quite sure on, or wondering the direction of certain things. And so I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. We'll get the full rundown, but yeah, man, and hey, for anyone watching, I see a few people in the chat right now. If you're watching now live with us, appreciate you. If you're watching the replay, just want to remind you guys to make sure you're subbed up to Brandon over at M.O.N Comics. I put Brandon's information in the description below. Hit him up on Instagram as well. Got all the links down there. So make sure you're checking them out. The plan is we're gonna do 4 of these things, at least, for this 4-issue miniseries that Jonathan Hickman and Esad Ribic have decided to put together. So it's tricky because of the fact that they're releasing them so far apart. So it's kind of, it's kind of
like to be a modern comic collector and reader. It's like,
right. At least other books you get a monthly or whatever, but this one they're really stringing out, and we're only getting 4 of them. So, but in a way, I kind of like it because it's kind of making it last. It's having me reread it again, having me think about it again. So, it has its positives to it, and I love this creative team. Before I get into all that, though, and before we dive into our thoughts, I want to say a quick hello to the chat. And I already see my man Big Daddy Ross in the chat. What's going on, John?
Such a sweetheart.
Good to see you. Las Cruces, James, my brother. Good to see you as well. People hanging out early in the chat. We appreciate that. M.O.N Comics, double duty here in the chat and on the screen. Love it. My man Matt in Clemson, dude. I got to get back to you. Been DMing back and forth, but yeah, man, I know he's a fan. He was looking forward to this breakdown that we're doing tonight.
Cool guy.
So,
cool guy.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Matt, for hanging out with us. Let's see, scrolling through here. The Great Legend Show. What's going on? Appreciate you stopping by. All right, I think we've got everybody at the moment. Remember, smash that like button and make sure you're subbed up to Brandon. So we talked. So, and the other thing I should say early on here before we get into it is, as we do these 4, we just talked about next issue that we do. We got to figure out the date still, but it'll be over on Brandon's channel. So that's the other reason why you're going to want to make sure you're subbed up to him if you're not already. So, Brandon, dude, I'm wondering how, what do you want to? I know we talked a little bit about the agenda, and I'm curious, what your thoughts were of before we even get into the book. What is your connection to and thoughts on the Alien franchise as a whole?
Well, I mean, basically every movie, I was influenced by my father. He was a huge 70s sci-fi creature horror guy as I was growing up, and as I got old enough to see these movies, he introduced them to me.
Yeah.
So when I saw Aliens, it was something I liked in the beginning or loved, and came to appreciate more and more as time passed, because it was so iconic for the time, as far as the creature design, the whole idea of it, of how aliens, there's a parasite that implants something in you that then comes out of you, but there's also a queen. Like, such a well-written story, well-designed creature. Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley, like the first female heroine in a movie that just was amazing. And it's one of those franchises where the second one might be better than the first. Like, the first is a classic, but when you get into the second one with Marines showing, like, it showed you what one could do to a team of 6 people with no skills, but it showed you what a hive could do to a highly trained Marine team in a matter of minutes. So, mostly my dad influencing me, my love of sci-fi, and let's face it, I think it's one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made, or franchises, if you will.
Yeah, well said. And it's interesting. And it's really worked out because, and I know we talked a little backstage about it, but like, I wasn't sure when I reached out to you about it and was just like, hey, I know we want to think about something we could do. I didn't even know you read it. Like, I wasn't sure where you stood with this book or where you stood with Aliens in general. But I just, threw that out there, and obviously it worked out very well, very convenient for us. But for me personally, the reason I got into this book was not Aliens per se. It was Jonathan Hickman and Esad Ribic was my initial, like, yep, gotta get into that, gotta read it no matter what. They could be writing about any characters and I'm in, because of that creative team. But with that being said, Aliens to me, I've always been a general fan of. Like, I always liked it. I've watched a majority of the movies. I haven't seen all of them. I will say that this makes me want to go back and watch them, and probably rewatch the originals, because it definitely has been a long time. Even I think I was talking to my friend Candace recently about the Romulus movie that had just come out, this past year. And that was on my list, and we ended up just not getting to see it in theater. And now it's like something I'm like, I still kind of want to see it. And Candace had mentioned that she thought it was really solid for the franchise. So
me and my wife, we have 2 young kids. We don't have familial support for that stuff. It's very rare. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was the first movie we went to together in over a year without the kids. So we picked, which was a great choice. But I did end up buying Romulus, and I did enjoy it. I think it's great stuff in the stories. It was gruesome, gory, really good. That I think was breathing new life into the Alien franchise, along with what Prey did for the Predator franchise a couple years ago when it came out on Hulu. Nice to see these franchises getting breathed into them. And to circle back to what you said of why you got into it, I had never read anything by Jonathan Hickman.
That's crazy, man. I'm so excited for you.
So, someone gifted me the Scotty Young variant, and I was like, I got to read this, because I talk on my channel. I love Batman versus Predator. The first time I saw those two, going at it and crossing over, it blew my mind that these franchises could cross over. So I'm going to read this, of course, and to read something like Hickman for the first time in this was a treat.
Oh man, dude. And I hope that this gets you, diving into some of his other work, because it's definitely, he's a legend for sure, with what he's been writing in the past. Quick hello to, I highlighted earlier, TM Nerdy, my man, Travis. Good to see you. Hope all as well. Renegade Rants Comics also hanging out in the chat. Appreciate you swinging by. And Matt here says, he goes, I'm definitely going back to watch the Alien movies again over the Christmas break. That's a great idea and a great time to do it. If you have some downtime to be able to fit those movies in, and I do as well. I might carve it out for that. So I'm with you there. So ultimately, like, the other thing I wanted to mention with Aliens, or the franchise of Aliens, is and I know Aliens came first. It very much reminds me of the Brood, the Brood character or civilization from X-Men and Chris Claremont. So something that me and John had broken down over the last few years, going through the original Brood saga. And I know even from the more recent, like, year and a half, there was a Brood saga that kind of tied into the current Captain Marvel and things like that, which was kind of cool. And I've always found the Brood to be really interesting just from these last couple of years of reading them. And we've definitely talked about how they're clearly based on the idea of Alien.
Right. Now, I don't even read X-Men, but I could tell just by looking at the covers, the creatures, my friends talking about it.
Yeah, the way they work and everything, the way they take over, and breed and all that other stuff. So yeah, very much ties into a lot of that. Oh, speaking of, there's Johnny Boy. Good to see you, John. It's to see Hickman is a boss. Loved East and West. That's another series.
Writing's so freaking good in this. We'll talk about it, but my God, it gets better every time you read it.
Yep. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I text you. I'm like, all right, just went through my reread again. Like, wanted to make sure I got really fresh up on this because now technically issue 1 had been, it's come out. It's been a few months.
Right.
So I had to do a little bit of a refresher. But the other thing before we get into the book itself that I want to get your thoughts on was a little bit about what your general opinion was of crossovers between any two big franchises, obviously this one being Avengers tied in with Aliens, but like generally are those things that come to mind where you're like I'm interested or not really because they're not real continuity, or like what are your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. Like I talked briefly moments ago about Predator versus Batman. When I was a kid, my dad took me to the tobacco shop that was on the spinner rack. It blew my mind that this hero from Gotham and this creature from space, and both which I loved as a kid, were coming, together to fight. Yep. And I was like, my God, this is amazing. Now, I really enjoy a lot of crossovers. I think they're great. I think it's a lot of fun to play with different universes. Yep. But someone mentioned to me someone mentioned to me the other day that they heard rumors about Star Wars and the Marvel Universe eventually having a crossover.
Whoa.
Because it's a galaxy far, far away.
Sure, they could pull it off.
And I don't know how I would feel about that. That's like just two monstrous franchises. I'm not sure it would work on that scale. I could be wrong, but in general, crossovers, and I think this book will prove it's a lot of fun to pit these worlds together and to hear slang from the Aliens franchise and to see heroes from the Avengers universe talking about that universe, like having to deal with each other. So I thought that was really cool. Do you like them?
So it's you make great points, and I have to say, initially I did not, or I didn't. Not that I didn't like them, I didn't care for them. It was like, if something like this was on the rack, and just modern day, last 5 years, last 7 years type of thing. If it was on the rack and I didn't care for the artist or the writer, it might not strike a chord for me. For any like crossover, I don't know why. I never really was. It just wasn't something that pulled me in. Even if it was like one franchise I really liked and one that I didn't, or whatever, it just never got to me until I read. Until sure enough, another writer that got me inspired to read their stuff, Tom Taylor, from Nightwing series. He had done a crossover with DC versus vampires, and I randomly just gave it a shot because it was him. And then I ended up loving it, and that's what initially this made me realize, like, whoa, like, I mean, as long as there's a good creator involved, I need to at least give these books a shot. So that was what got me hooked, and then obviously this one, as I mentioned before, I'm like, yeah, automatic, like, let's do it
for sure. I think that the writing and how they present it, really dictate that. A great story is a great story, and I love how some of the stuff. I love how everything was done in this. Actually, from the beginning right through, I thought they set it up well. And you told me that the second issue was out. I went and bought it, digested it, devoured it, and then I was bummed because you're like, yeah, the next one comes out in February. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, crazy. I dropped the 2025 line on you. And you're like, wait, next year?
Yeah. I can't believe we're so close to 2025 as it is, dude. We're 19 days away. It's insane.
You're right.
No, 18 days. Sorry.
Yeah. It'll I'm sure it'll be here before we know it. And like I was saying, as much as I want the rest of the story, I'm also kind of okay, that we're taking time to digest everything. And there's certainly a lot to digest as we'll hear tonight. But
it's like you knew we were going to be breaking it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Time to really dissect it for him.
Yeah, Hickman's like, let's give those guys a chance here to read this a few times. Quick hello to a few more people in the chat. My man Kenneth Bird, Station Kenneth, good to see you. Let's see, scrolling through, I saw my man Ryan Colossus Collector in the chat as well. What up, gents? Good to see you, Ryan. Ryan and I talked a little bit about some ideas on something to break down. So keep an eye out for that too, here shortly on the channel. So One other thing that we should talk a little bit about, since we're highlighting Alien so much, is general thoughts on Avengers. Have you been a fan all your life, or I assume you've seen the movies, although maybe I shouldn't assume. But give me your thoughts on the Avengers.
Well, 2008. I mean, let's talk movies first. 2008, Iron Man comes out. Then in 2011, I start dating my wife, and we start going to all the Marvel movies because I was into comics and I had a collection of comics at the time. One comic I had was Avengers #1. And a CGC 2.0.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I definitely love that great team up of characters. Had to sell that book to help buy the engagement ring. Totally worth it.
Nice. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I like that they went from the Avengers standpoint on this. It gives it a more, I don't know, like, because I like how they handled the mutants, what the mutants did, But I like that the event, because Tony Stark's human, he's a billionaire playboy. A lot of the other ones have superpowers, Right. So I've always enjoyed the Avengers. I've enjoyed, talk about Marvel taking their time to set up, the culmination that was Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah. And they've had some great team ups. They've had some great fights. They've done awesome stuff in the comics. I don't collect them right now. It's just one rabbit hole I haven't gone down, but still love the Avengers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, even before I was into comics, because I wasn't into comics when when Tony Stark came, or when Iron Man 1 dropped and all that other stuff. It wasn't until years later that I really got into it. But I was still watching the movies, and I was still very much engaged with them, and always loved the idea of like the characters and things like that. So yeah, I mean, same. I think Avengers, I definitely have a few issues in my collection, and a lot of it's more for like the artist and writer sake of things from like the original run. Just some beautiful artwork from that time period, through the 70s and the 80s. So stuff like that, and anything that the X-Men are in, I'm always picking that stuff up. So like I'll never turn down any good story with Avengers. And there were some recent crossovers with Avengers, like in the current runs that have been really good too. So I'm always down to kind of see who the team is. I like that the team's always kind of changing a little bit. And then, like you said, the movies. Yeah, I mean, I'm a diehard fan of the movies. I will forever. I'm so happy and lucky. I feel so lucky that I was able to live in the time period of seeing these movies come out for the first time, because we're gonna be 80 years old one day talking about this stuff, Brandon, and we're gonna be telling all the youngsters about how amazing it was on screen, and to Captain America catching Thor's hammer and all this stuff. Like, we're just gonna be like back in our day.
I remember when you had to watch it on a screen. You weren't actually in the movie.
Right.
Like the technology's gonna be so crazy. This like you said, that you're talking more modern Avengers too. This might be a catalyst for me to check out more modern stories from the Avengers. There's just so much out there, and thankfully all you guys, my friends, have turned me on. So many people just message me now and say, hey, you heard about this story, you heard about this crossover? That I'm like, okay, all right, so
yep,
for sure,
down the rabbit hole you go. Cool, man. So yeah, I think we're very much on the same page with that. And for anybody who's again just joining in, make sure that you are subbed up and following Brandon over on his channels. Links are in the description below. We are going to be going back and forth on each other's channels here for the 4 issues. So we're breaking down issue 1 tonight of Aliens versus Avengers with Jonathan Hickman and Esad Ribic, creative team here. Hey, there is our good friend Eric, SideQuest Comics. What's going on, Eric? Anything else before we dive into this, Brandon, that you wanted to touch on? Or are you ready to get into the book?
No, I think those were really good outline topics to begin with. I think
cool.
You're playing T-ball. You're setting that ball right up for us to knock out of the park.
Love it. So yeah, I of course, I know I hit you up earlier just being like, yeah, we'll just hold up the book if we, want to show some panels or whatever and whatever. But I couldn't help myself. I had to put a little slide together, just a little slide. It's nothing crazy. It's not, there's no gifts or anything for those following us on Omni X-Men, nothing like that. But just wanted to give, you guys, the viewers, if you haven't read this, a little bit closer of a glimpse on stuff. Now, granted, Brandon, if you do have some panels or pages that you want to show that I don't happen to have as screenshots, let me know. I'll blow you up there, and you can hold the book up. One other thing that we should show now, you said you had the copy of the Scotty. Yeah, that's a great one, by the way. Always love his work there.
Yeah, I like Scotty Young a lot, and it says Cap's got a face hugger on him, and it says, I love this. On a scale of absorbing man to Thanos, how much of a problem is this? And Carol Danvers is saying, I'm going to be honest, we're zipping right past the Mad Titan, landing somewhere near a Galactus.
That's great.
So really funny.
Yeah, I
Really,
love how he's just got his got his face covered there. It's
yeah.
great.
So
Yeah.
I love this copy. Yeah.
Nice.
Which one you got?
So I had bought. I meant to grab the cover A. I do have cover A. It's somewhere around here, and I think I grabbed a cover B. But the one I have for tonight that
I want that one too. I
Yeah.
want that so bad.
Dude, this one is so for anyone, if you haven't seen this one, this is a second printing of the book. Technically not. I don't think that, or actually, is this Esad? Let me see if the front cover says. I don't see his signature, but he usually puts it on there. I'll have to confirm who did this cover, but I know Esad did the original cover A. It really might be him though. It's just tough because he got the big head there. He usually doesn't, or his style of covers are not necessarily like this. But yeah, so a Spider-Man on the front cover. We won't get into that yet, but yes, that is what you're kind of seeing here, all white, and then a lot of glimpses down below and around the corners. So, but yeah, so this is a second print. I figure I'd pick that up too when it came out, and I'm a sucker for seconds and third prints and fourth prints and all that, especially if I like the artwork. So
I want that cover so bad. It's so fire. The negative space too, with all the stuff going on behind it.
Yeah, you're right.
So dope with the face hugger and the different characters.
Yep.
It's an Esad cover. Matt from Clemson just
okay, it is. Okay, so yeah, because I was looking at the detail. I'm like, this stuff down here looks like Esad for sure. Obviously, this is just more grand.
And this is my first experience with him too, and he's a wonderful artist. Like,
it is for your first. Okay.
Him and Hickman together. Like, this is just for my first time is awesome.
So you missed Esad. If you came to Terrificon 2 years prior to this past year, you would have met him. I actually got this beautiful painted piece from him of Storm at the top here. I'll show you.
I've seen you show that off before.
You see it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and he's a really nice guy. He's a sweetheart. Just to talk with him and everything. So hopefully he'll come back to Terrificon, and hopefully you will too, Brandon.
I really want to, man.
And you guys will meet each other. But yeah. So all right. Well, let's dive into the book here, and a quick hello to FluxCat. What's going on, Flux? Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, TM, you know what it is, man. We always got the slideshows.
Before you start the slideshow, I just gotta ask: did you do the first page in the slideshow? The very first opening page?
I don't think so. You want to show it?
Yeah, just because right off the bat on the first page, we get an image. This image is right out of Alien, or Prometheus. Sorry.
Oh.
So these images are what
I didn't realize that.
What they find at this archaeological site that leads them to go to the to go on their journey. So these images are right out. So like when I opened the book the first time, and I was like, whoa, right out of Prometheus, like right away.
So the connection is like amazing right there.
Yeah. So I was so that as an Alien fan, it's what the Avengers are, but an Alien fan, that was like a nice little touch they added in.
Yeah. See, that like went right over my head. I'm like, okay, it's dark and eerie. That's like kind of that's what I picked up,
Yes. No, I figured, because you said you've seen some of them, like maybe you hadn't seen Prometheus and seen that imagery. So I had to bring that up.
That's awesome. That's great. Great catch. All right. So yeah, here's the slide. So even before we get fully into it, what are your thoughts on this cover? I like to always talk about the covers of the books when they're first out. This is cover A, Esad Ribic. So.
I like that too. I was gifted this one that I started researching because I bought the second one, and I got a variant cover by, I think, Paco Medina. And I love it. But then I saw these online, and I was like, man, I want them all. I can see the variant rabbit hole that modern collectors fall down, because if you're a lover of good art and covers, they got it all, and this one is no exception. It's gorgeous with the Xeno in the background and Cap with a shield and Tony and Carol. It's great.
Down the rabbit hole you'll go with this too. I mean, variants in general. Eric SideQuest, he knows what's up. With all these variant covers. Matt agrees too. I'm with you. I mean, this is just clearly some great Esad Ribic goodness. Very much his style, the way he draws faces and just the generalized details. Always appreciate that. So I had to make sure to get a cover A. If you can't get your hands on a cover A, Brandon, let me know, because I can keep an eye out on my.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Yeah,
So,
probably.
right. So, yeah. So this is, so, I mean, we dive in. I figured we could talk a little, we don't have to go like page by page with this, but like, I figure as a broad view of the first half of this book, because this book's kind of split into two, right? So, I'll share first, like what this first half's a little bit about, and then we can kind of talk about it. So the first half of the book, essentially shows what looks to be the Shi'ar Empire, or like two characters from the Shi'ar. For those who follow Omni X-Men, or just read X-Men in general, know are very familiar with Shi'ar Empire and Lilandra. It just shows two people from that world who are holding up a scroll. A scroll who's like been attached, and they're basically explaining how their tests have failed with scroll, but they've been working with so many other beings. Clearly someone's doing all this testing with aliens, and then during this time the ship gets attacked, and basically we find out that Wakanda is making an attack on this ship. We find out more detail later that they're it's T'Challa and what I believe is, at least in this story, his son, which we'll get into, and the two of them are there, basically realizing that this is as dangerous as it is. They've already been attacked elsewhere. And so they're trying to do a counterattack and shut everything down before this stuff spreads. This stuff being, aliens and the virus. And these Shi'ar guys, basically they discover the attack, and before Wakandians get to them, they fire off with the different ships that basically send out to other worlds or other planets to continue just to spread their the alien creatures. So they by the time they get there, it's essentially too late. There's a lot of talk about like what's the movie oh my god, where there's like a time difference from when they're like there.
Yes, there's a huge black hole, and it's creating this like a time variance, like where inside it's only like a couple hours, but outside of where they are,
days or years. Yeah. What is the Matthew McConaughey movie I'm trying to think of?
Oh God, Interstellar.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Interstellar.
Someone chime in the chat.
That's it, because I was gonna say Inception, but no, you're right. It's Interstellar. That's
not to back you up too much on that first panel.
Please do.
Wasn't that I was still understanding that was a Kree? That's
you're right.
Kree is, but then they talk about
Skrull.
Talk about how there was this real big surprise with the Skrull, and they achieved something, and they don't tell you what they achieved with it. Right. However, they said it's too bad because the Skrull home world was destroyed. There's no more Skrulls for them to seed there. But yeah, you're breaking it down great. They've come too little, too late. These people have already done what they're going to do. We don't know the motives yet. But yeah, to see the Black Panther show up and his son, and the way they take out the aliens was just wonderful.
The explosions and everything.
Yeah,
like, I was very excited to I was like, the door explodes. We didn't know who these the rockets were, or the ships were coming. We didn't quite know.
I love when they're like a Wakandan design, freighters closing in Wakandan design.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, like I love when movies or books write like that, to make you understand what characters might be coming
before you see them.
Yes, right. Yeah. By saying it's a Wakandan ship, so you're like, oh man, Black Panther's coming in. So I love when they do that.
Yep. And I was trying to see. Oh, so I wanted to ask you this. It does mention 3 other succession or bodies that they were testing on, specimens, and it was Strontians, Debari, and Kotati.
Yeah.
And then they also and that's where they also were mentioning the scroll and things like that. Are you familiar with those other names? I don't know them, but I was assuming they're part of Marvel's,
I wondered that too, and I was actually going to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
However, they don't necessarily, but someone can chime in the chat or on the rewatch if they see this and say, yes, that's where so-and-so's from. But the way I took it is, they don't necessarily, like, they can just name some names of races we've never heard that were successful to have pulled this off. Because we see as we go on, like, what they are able to gather from these races to make this happen.
Right.
So I wonder that too, and knowing that you haven't heard of it, and with our comic knowledge altogether, I don't know that those races are in the Marvel universe at all. And someone can feel free to correct me, and I don't know at all.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was just 3 races that they were like threw in there to be like, yeah, this is where we got what we have from,
Yep. Yep. No, just that's a good point. That very well could be something that they're just kind of bending to, make up to build to make the world, make the universe even bigger.
Colossus just put something very interesting up there.
Ooh, Gamora refers to Thor's muscles in Infinity War as Kotati metal fibers. Only time I've ever heard of that before. Okay, maybe it's a blend or a mix of the name. Maybe some are real and some are not.
Yeah, it's very possible. I hope someone leaves a comment and watches this video and schools us. Is like, actually,
yeah.
And I'll take it because then I'll learn something.
Oh, 100%. Eric said that he got the green one that looks like Alien 3, the variant from earlier. Nice. And yeah, thanks, Flux. Yeah, Interstellar. Funny because I was just watching like a meme that had Interstellar in it, and I was like, I really should just remember that name. But yeah, so some other cool panels as they break in here and take on a few of the aliens. You get them getting shocked out from the sky there on the left. I love that whole page because it's technically 2 pages, but it's almost like one splash page in a way. The way it tells the story, no words or anything, but and then you see the aliens kind of smoking, being fried.
I don't see any acid coming out.
Yeah,
I don't see any acid coming out. Sorry, my wife came in; she's bringing me water. So I don't know. I assume acid's flying out. That's another thing I love about the design of the Xenomorph is just, he's just amazing. Just acid for blood, ultimate killing.
Oh yeah, and they don't care. They're like they even mentioned in the book. These are the ultimate weapon. Like these are
the ultimate killing machine. Just in the universe. And I was trying to think are against Marvel, do I have to suspend disbelief? If Cyclops stood somewhere and just fired his optic beam, through a field of xenomorphs, could they really take them? But then I had to think that what if they're coming from all directions?
Right.
They refer to them often in here as the alien horde, and it's just there's no stopping them.
The numbers overwhelm you no matter what.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. No, that's a good thought too, because for something like Cyclops' power to do something like that. And for anyone wondering where the X-Men are, we'll get to that because that is somewhat answered a little bit, which I really like that they added. So here we have finally we see T'Challa, the mask is off, and I should clarify at one point when they first land on the ship, he's like some of his soldiers are like my king, maybe I thought you were going to stay back, let us go first, kind of thing. And but he's taking it that serious where he's like, no, we have to do everything we can. And there's, I'm in it with you guys because they're after, we have to, he recognizes how dangerous this species is, and he's not afraid to step forward, as a king, as he is. Now I know a few pages are missing here, but we do see the son as well. Do you have the name off?
Azari.
Yes? Azari. So Azari gets referred to in this as well during that exchange of hey, actually, I think it might be the page earlier that we were on. Yeah, it starts there. But yeah, Azari's there with T'Challa. Now, to my knowledge, the way I read it, I think it's T'Challa that we know, the Black Panther we know as the leader, the king, and then it's Azari. I think it's like a son of his. They reference father son type, but I wasn't sure. I was kind of wondering who was who, but the way I read it, I think it's that way. But what were your thoughts on Azari or just getting that introduction?
Yeah, when I first said it, I'm like, well, it's not T'Chaka. It's not his father.
Right.
If it can't be his grandfather, they're all in the spirit realm. So son only made sense to me.
Yeah.
I thought Azari was a cool name. And like you said, just how they come in full force, ready to fight. They're like, we can't lose time. We have to figure this out quick. And they don't waste any time in dispatching people. They're like, go find the crew, find out what's here, the Wakandans don't mess around. And
they don't.
And that's I love that they used them to introduce this story, since they do have if you're talking Earth, such high tech designs that came basically from outer space. It makes sense that they're the ones that are out discovering what's going on.
Oh yeah. Yep. Agreed. Ryan said Storm and Thor could blast them with lightning in the air. Absolutely, man.
I mean, yeah, you think about like Thor took out a lot of like Thanos's minion things that like when he was in the air, but they still all got overrun,
it was
didn't they?
right. Yeah, they did.
And there, there was thousands of them, but when you're talking about Earth, you're talking about almost the entire population infected, so you're talking billions.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, I mean, at least they can fly, and I don't know the capabilities per se of the alien race, but at least to get up in the air by yourself sometime and
right
shoot from above could do some help. So yeah, so they did find this one character, this one what looks to be a Shi'ar type character on board, who what with how they explain it basically sounds like he was the one who sent off these ships as a final call, and at this moment we don't quite know what the ships are, what they have in them. We'll get to that in a little bit, but basically there's an exchange between this capture that they have, this prisoner and T'Challa, and the prisoner. I mean, well, so this is where I got a little confused here, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Where he goes, "What kind of monster are you?" And he goes, "Oh, much more than that. For I have such plans." And then it turns out that this Shi'ar prisoner that they have is not a Shi'ar at all, which they do call out. But on top of that, like he takes his wig off. And then it turns out it's a machine, or it's like a robot.
So I see this as in the Alien universe, Bishop and Ash from the first Alien are synthetics. They're cybernetic organisms, and the white stuff coming out of this one very much reminds me about like them in the movies.
Okay.
So I wondered if this was a tie-in. This Shi'ar using synthetics, kind of like from the Alien universe, to get what they need done while they can get out of here. And I was confused too, Justin. Like before, like when the Wakandans show up, that race of people are like, let them, we dare not be rude. Let's give our guests a most proper and appropriate welcome. Like they don't care about them coming in, right? So that's another thing that makes me wonder of like what these guys have been up to. And they let the synthetic stay behind with the information that these guys can use. Maybe it's just too late.
Yeah, right. And I know that they do, basically, so he chops the head off
right. Yeah.
Right after, which I love, because he says, he goes, just a machine. He goes, if you prick me, do I not bleed? And that's what the prisoner is saying. And he goes, let's see. And he pulls his sword out and slices his head off, which is pretty badass.
And they do say T'Challa says, or Azar, I think we're facing the bug hunt to end all bug hunts. That's right out of Aliens, the referencing a bug hunt.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Is what they call in Aliens when they're like, is this just another bug hunt? Like, so they took that dialogue right from the Aliens, which I like. A lot of very nice touches of Aliens in the beginning to set the scene.
Yeah.
As far as like nomenclature and images from the movies. And then they kind of go away from that into just like what aliens are in the Avengers, but I digress.
Yeah, no, I love that they're putting that time in to do that. And shoot, man, this makes me want, like, before we do episode in issue 2, I'm going to binge Alien because I wanna pick up all this stuff. I'm glad that you're here, Brandon.
I think you just have to. So far, you only have to watch the first 2. I don't know that they're going to go beyond referencing the first 2. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, the first 2 are the most iconic in the franchise. 3 is enjoyed by some, and 4 is really just kind of a mess in my mind.
Okay. What about Prometheus? What number is Prometheus?
Now, Prometheus was like one of the prequels. Prometheus and Covenant came out. Maybe they'll include some stuff from there where these engineers, what made the xenomorphs. I don't know if they're going to take it that far. But the imagery in the beginning of this book is right from Prometheus, so they very well could be, either alluding to bringing in more of that mythos or just, a little taste to the fans.
Okay. Yeah, Flux saying here, the nod to David and Ash from the Alien movies. Cool, very cool. Yeah, this definitely makes me want to make sure I'm all caught up before our next.
First 2, you'll be good. Yeah, even for the next book for sure.
Yeah. The other thing here before is still kind of in this first half of the book. We show glimpses of the ship now. Basically, now that they've like stopped this ship, even though they didn't really stop it. They got that one prisoner or whatever, and they were still able to. The prisoner was able to release these other ships of aliens. But We do get a little bit of a glimpse of father son standing next to each other talking about it, and I like that. Everything that's said here is just so well done in a way that it's like it builds up how serious this is and how big of an event this is. And this is what I love about Hickman in general. I mean, think about, like I said, this is a 4-issue miniseries. This, if you told me like in a quick 30-second preview, hey, Jonathan Hickman is going to write a story about this in 4 issues, I'd be like, Brandon, that's like not enough to fit into 4 issues. Like, how could you do that? But what I love about Hickman is he knows how to create massive worlds in a very short period of time and do it in a way that, to me at least, I don't feel rushed. I think that he leaves these little nuggets and moments. We get little quiet moments of father son talking, and I feel like it reveals so much to the world.
It's so good, dude. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
These 2 panels with the writing. I mean, T'Challa says to his son, "Now instead of a twilight reign marked by peace and enlightenment, there is ash and fire and the bones of what I dared to dream." Yeah, like I get chills reading that bubble, and it really sets the stakes, like what the stakes are for what's going on. And the Wakandans with their access to amazing technology are like understand how bad this is. And I really love that they've made the aliens that kind of threat,
big time.
To make superheroes scared, like they Hickman did a good job of using that to show that. And this panel I consider that the end of Act 1, if you will. It just shows you what's on the line. And that when I read that, I was just immediately, I was in, I was sold.
Yep, I love it. And it's interesting because I mean that was just the intro. I would say it's probably like not quite halfway through the actual page count of the book, but
right.
But yeah, that is kind of like this first half of the book is everything we kind of just went through here, where just to get this glimpse. And again, I just think it's just so well done for being able to build this world so quickly, and even the stuff about in the beginning with the Shi'ar. And finding out now that they're not, it wasn't really the Shi'ar and they were taking over and all this other stuff. Just how large the stakes are at, and it leaves these hints of like, okay, there's these plans. We don't know what the plans are. We don't know what the ships were, or that were out there. We can assume that there were some sort of aliens on these ships, but we don't know, furthermore what these plans were that were that were mentioned by the prisoner. But yeah, so great way to kind of start this off. And I think did I even put the I put the little the little in between here
with a Wayland, the Wayland logo.
So
just when he says, I gotta say, when he says, this is what I was talking about. It's unfathomable. The scale of it is. My God, what are we going to do? What happens now? Like they're this freaking super powered, culture that just are scared, and that really sets the stakes for this.
Oh yeah. 100%. Agreed, Eric. Thank you, man. Smash that like button if you haven't already. If you guys are just joining midway or watching the replay, make sure you're subbed up to Brandon M.O.N Comics down below. The information's there because we will be on his channel for our next show. So keep an eye out for that. But we're only halfway through this book, gang. So get your popcorn if you haven't already, because we got a lot more. So one thing too with this page. I like that. I remember when I read that first top left side, I'm like, oh, okay, they highlight Alien. And I'm just like, oh man, they should do that for Avengers. And I look to the right, I'm like, oh, sure enough. Yeah, they talk about the Avengers. That makes sense. But it's, I like that they put this stuff in because at the end of the day, like they also have to cater to the new readers, right? Or just people who might not be familiar with.
Yeah, it's great little blurbs just to set the stage.
Yeah.
Like this is who this is focusing on.
Yep. Very high level. Exactly. So we talked about Jonathan Hickman being the writer, Esad Ribic, artwork.
My first exposure to Esad Ribic too, and he is a wonderful artist. I think he did a great job with all these characters.
Yeah. I'm trying to think my first experience with Esad, and I think it was Thor: God of Thunder, which Brandon, if you haven't read that, I would definitely recommend reading Thor: God of Thunder. And I've never really been a big Thor guy per se. Like I like him, but I never thought I would like gravitate towards just going out of my way to read a Thor book, especially one that came out years ago.
Okay.
Or years ago, modern years ago. But he was he wrote the God Bomb story and really took the characters from what they did in the in the movie. It's nowhere near, it's way better than what that movie was. But yeah, anyways, that's where I first learned about Esad Ribic and fell in love with his artwork.
Do you know what year that came out?
2006, I want to say. It was Jason Aaron doing the writing. 2008, maybe.
Writing this down.
Yeah. So Thor, God of Thunder. It's an epic read. And now, granted, Jason Aaron, he writes Thor. I think Jason Aaron has the record of the longest Thor run, and maybe one of the longest runs in comics, period, because it was over the course of like 7 or 8 years, technically, that he wrote Thor. So, not that you have to read all that. You should read all that. I'm still reading all that. But his early stuff with specifically Esad Ribic before it changes to, well, I won't get into more, but before things change, that portion of it, it's probably like 25 issues, I think, altogether. It's really, really good.
I'm glad I have a new friend like you to tell me all this stuff.
I love that you got a pen and a piece of paper by your side.
Every stream I come to, I'm going to learn something, and
you never know.
It just makes it that much more fun.
Hey, we got my man Jedi Knight in the chat. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Says he's gonna stop by later. Farouk you. Yeah. Good Omni X-Men brother right there. So yeah, appreciate you, man, for swinging by. He says, God of Thunder, excellent reading. Yeah, and that's coming from X-Men guy. But he
all right.
all right. So Brandon, let's get into the second half.
I love this first panel, the second half.
You run with this a little bit. Where take us through a little bit of this. Some of your thoughts.
We've got the breakdown. We know something big is going on, and you have that. I'll show this as a companion piece.
Yeah.
So this is the panel right before. Yep. And it shows the probes, and I got my cheat notes over there. But
love it.
I'm just going to read this because it's real quick. Seed worlds were not chosen at random, but once a world is chosen for host, the process, regardless of which world it is, remains the same. I freaking love this. Each seed probe carries 4 queen eggs inside it, along with 12 infected hosts in suspended animation. So they weren't messing around. They said, we're going to put 12 infected hosts in there, but 4 queen alien eggs. So that this is gonna the probability that this is going to succeed is high. Yeah. And then it said, and then 4 locations in proximity of high density population centers are targeted for initial infestation. So I took it as 4 of these probes went to 4 locations, and in each probe had 4 queen alien eggs and 12 hosts already infected. Yeah. So I was just like, oh my God, this is just what a wonderful way to really, if you're a fan of aliens or you're just learning, that's one alien queen can cause enough havoc, but to have 4 was just oh yeah, it blew my mind. I loved that panel. And then into this, when they actually show, they show that one of the pods landing, an infected person. They said they were in suspended animation, but by the time, they woke up, it was like the chest burster was ready to come out. It was ready to go. And, you see these people are curious or looking on, and no one's going to know what hit them. I love the alien queen at the bottom. We don't see what's up 3MIB right there. You don't see the top of the alien. We just see the musculature of the alien's legs and stuff. You see the eggs being laid. And I just thought that was a wonderful, it's just it just happened so fast. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing. They weren't going to let it fail. And it's just carnage right from the beginning. And then, the next panel goes into, within 1 week, each individual queen hive will produce a brigade of warrior drones. Within 1 month, an endless army. Within 1 year, a planet-raising horde. So, and they even said, remember, each seed probe contains 4 such queens. It's a perfect delivery mechanism for extinction of a species. That's just absolutely, it's spot on. The beginning draws you in, and then you get to this, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. How Hickman decided to lay it out to show how these worlds were all going to be affected within this universe. Yep.
And I love the detail and clearly thought Hickman has clearly done his homework in that regard, and giving us the details of numbers of queens and how many aliens are going with them, all that stuff. I really just appreciated and had a better visual even of just picturing, one, just how massive it is, two, how smart they are, and they clearly had a plan. Like, this is, in order to make sure that this happens, this is how many we, calculate need to be sent as far as queens go. And then, like you said, like, things happen immediately as they land. They just clearly had a plan. And I love that it takes him all of those 4 panels in the middle to give you a very great like glimpse of like what's happening in these worlds so quickly. And again, it just creates such a massive world in such a small period of time. And again, doesn't feel rushed, doesn't feel forced or, squeezed together. It's, the writing's perfect. So
it really is. I mean, four queen alien eggs. I love that he chose to put 12 infected people in there so that the alien eggs are like, the queen eggs are kind of like an afterthought to anyone that finds the ship. They're going to be looking at these survivors. This guy's already, having one burst out of his chest. They're kind of like a distraction to the real prize in those probes.
Yeah.
Because like, if you could take out those eggs right away, you're prohibiting 4 queens from being born, but you're obviously going to go to these infected aliens and try to help them. So really smart. I really liked that idea that they just didn't say we shot 4 queen alien eggs and
just hope
we waited for them to infect people and then an alien queen was born. No, like they had a great fail safe for it.
Yep. Agreed. Eric here says, my thoughts seeing this was you guys are screwed. Yeah, 100%, man. I definitely feel
it better myself.
Yeah. And by the way, for 3 Minute of Basement, appreciate you guys swinging by. I'm curious which one of you are watching right now. Because there are 4 of you technically hanging and doing your show. So appreciate you guys swinging by. But I just had Chinmo on the channel this previous week.
I got to get together with him too.
For a stream for his origin story. So if you guys missed that, definitely go check it out.
Check that out.
Always good to hang out with Chinmo and the rest of the crew. Hope you're all doing well. But these pages were well done. The core 4 showing the different cities and locations. Again, beautiful stuff. So before we get into that far page that's on the screen right now, I do also want to highlight the page prior to that. And I did have a question, and this might just be my lack of certain characters or stories that I haven't read yet. But I never mind. I did see that. So for the Inhumans, I don't have a lot of experience. I know you're an FF guy, and I have recently been starting to dive into more FF. And when I say that, I mean the Stan Lee stuff. I just read 51, which Brandon, I saw in your recent video talking about, selling some of your, or really moving on from your FF collection. 51 was one of the ones that you mentioned. And I had never read that book until literally earlier this year. And I loved it. Like loved it. First time reading it. And, so anyways, I say all that to say, I don't have a big history on Inhumans, but I do know that they tie into a lot of the FF stuff, especially early on as their first appearances go. But I say all that to say I was not familiar with this city that they talk about, although I did just kind of, gather a little bit, but I assume this is where the Inhumans are from. They somehow got in. I didn't know how. They talk about like how you would think it was like hard to get into, but they end up getting, the aliens end up figuring it out and getting in. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. If I like, I know you're an FF guy, but are you familiar with the city and how it works, or some of the comments of how they describe this stuff in this page?
I wasn't. I'm not. The city of Attilan, Adelan. How do you pronounce it? I wasn't familiar with that.
Okay.
And I didn't go too deep dive into the Inhumans when I was into the FF. It does say that it stood for thousands of years. The great shield of purity separated them from a dying world, but that it was actually the breakdown between the society of the haves and the have-nots that really caused a distraction for the aliens to come in. Right. So to answer your question, unfortunately, no, but now I need to go read a little background of what, obviously they're Inhumans. It's probably a pretty powerful city,
Right. That's what I assumed it was just something very difficult. And that just went to show even more how powerful aliens were because of the fact that they still figured out, a way to get in. And, as we move down that page, it shows other little glimpses of Atlantis. I love that they brought up Atlantis, mentioning that there was no king at that time, all these things. I've been getting into Namor more and more. So that's been, on my mind, and that kind of hit home. And then it still references Wakanda, which obviously we opened with. But now that we've kind of fast forward in time a little bit from that initial kickoff in the beginning, it just went on to basically say that, Wakanda basically eventually Xenomorphs just got to everybody and was able to break in even to Wakanda and take over. So again, just setting the stakes as high as they are and showing that these are not just some chumps, these aliens. They're the real deal. And our favorite heroes are struggling. Their people are struggling and dying. So yeah, wanted to highlight that page. And then of course, yeah, on the far end there, we have a little mention of the X-Men. And this very much hit home for me because I was curious if they were going to touch base with this stuff. And sure enough, they do. They talk a little bit about what is going on. They show Apocalypse being basically the last X-Man to stay behind, and that's very much him. If anyone knows Apocalypse, he's not the type to retreat. He's not the type to back down.
He wants this. This is like what he's wanted. That's what they say. I love
Finally, a challenge. Yeah, a challenger, because he's and it does mention. So basically, most of the other X-Men, the other mutants who are living on Krakoa. I love that it mentions Krakoa. It mentions the Krakoan era, which had just recently passed. And for those who don't know, the Krakoan era was kicked off by Hickman initially. That whole project was all his, and he had massive, visions for that. Some in which came to light after he had stepped away and other writers took over. Some of it they changed. I know not all of it was what he had in mind per se, but yeah. So I love that Hickman included this because he knows it's very much tied into the more recent X-Men stuff, and so yeah. So the X-Men basically move, not the X-Men, but the mutants go to Mars because that's where, if you've read some of the stories, they have another area of real estate where they can live on Mars. So I won't get into all the details of that, but that basically is where they go. And you can see there were a few left that stood behind Apocalypse being the main one, who fought. Yeah, and it said, he said, "So be it. Only the only the fittest survive." He said, and if he lives, he lives. If he dies, he dies. And that's just how Apocalypse goes. And sure enough, you see him swinging the sword there. And what looks to be, eventually his takedown. But
I got to ask you, as like an X-Men, you're a huge, obviously, X-Men fan. I know some of the lore. I grew up with a cartoon. I've read side stories of X. Like I know some stuff, but like I love is Apocalypse's uniform, costume, outfit always depicted like that in every iteration throughout the years. Because like I remember the toy that I had a kid, his toy, and that's exactly what it looked like. Had the A on his belt. Had the tendril tentacle things coming off him, the face guard thing. Is this how he's always depicted?
I think that's his core view of him from like Age of Apocalypse, and I may be wrong with all that, but I haven't read Age of Apocalypse, and I don't actually have that much detail or experience with reading Apocalypse, other than the most recent modern Hickman stuff. So I will say his outfit definitely has changed even in that small era. But yeah, no, I would say this is more or less what I think most people would recognize him for, and especially having the thing around his neck there, kind of, and everything else, the big A on his belt. And stuff
the art's fantastic on this panel. Let's face it. The three in the middle getting up to his face closer, and then him. Yeah, his eventual, it looks like it's going to be his downfall. He sliced the alien's head in half. I love how you can just see behind the swoop of his blade. You can see
the inside,
the other half of the alien's head. Yeah. So I loved that. At first I thought it was a part of the other alien, but no.
So good. No, you're right.
Yeah.
They took
Esad he's won my love. This guy's awesome.
Yep, hell yeah. Couple comments. Eric says, X-Men said, "We're out. Have fun."
You and Ryan were the first ones I thought of when I read that panel.
Oh, nice.
Because I was wondering, like, what are the X-Men going to do? And it's like, well, an easy way, like, like the X-Men and how powerful they are. To be like, no, see ya, like we're gone, we're out, peace. Like this is a losing battle. We're not going to fight. So thought that was very interesting.
Oh yeah, which I mean, and I'd be curious to hear other thoughts of people too, because I could see some people looking this as like in a negative connotation, like what, like X-Men wouldn't do that, mutants wouldn't do that, they wouldn't just leave. But you know, I mean, that certainly could be a way to take it, is like, you know, were they running away? Did they all just feel like it was for the best? I mean, the best thing about X-Men or mutants in general is that they're also split. You know, there is not really ever one-sided on anything. So I could see more, if anything, and obviously they only tell the story in one page, but I could see, like, you know, at least like a third of the mutant population wanting to stay and fight with Apocalypse, because a lot of them had his mindset too.
Well,
You know?
what if, is there any chance that if a face hugger infected and a mutant, is there any way any of those powers could be imbued into a xenomorph and they realized that and thought it was too dangerous for them to stick around?
Yeah.
But I guess in that vein, you know, why would the Hulk stick around? You know, like if a Xeno could be all super powered, because, like, you know, Xenos fuse with humans, and that's where they kind of get that that structure of you know, like just a humanoid figure, if you will.
Yeah.
I wonder that. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it'd be cool to think.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's what I love about this book, is there's so many possibilities of even thoughts, you know, of why something might have been. Because again, I did kind of question the X-Men, the mutants. I'm like, would they run? I don't know if they would. I mean, maybe they didn't run. Maybe it is for the best. Maybe, as you mentioned, like, maybe they all thought, like, hey, this actually has to be for the best, you know, or did they run? I don't know.
Maybe they're finally getting their society. Maybe they're finally getting their mutant society away from them. They're like, we're not going to get picked on out here. This is going to be great.
Right.
We're finally alone.
Because I always think of, like, Professor X is, you know, his dream is to have humans and mutants living together. So that's a dream for him, and obviously not a dream for somebody like Magneto. So I can see Magneto being like, yeah, no, leave these humans. Let's get out of here. That
right. Yeah. They're doing the work for me that I've been trying to do for years. Like, thank you.
Right. So a little mixed bag there. I'm curious of others, what you might think. But Matt in Clemson said, nice. We got a Nightwing reference and a Namor reference in tonight. Yeah, my dude Matt, he's been riding with me with a lot of the different books I've highlighted in the previous months, and I know he's been enjoying both of those series. So
such great subscribers and friends out there that you reach out. I've met Matt through a giveaway, and we've been talking since, and he's been watching streams. I'm glad to see him here tonight. So I'm glad that you've connected with him too.
Yeah, awesome, very cool. Yeah, he's a good dude. Let's see. Flux just said maybe setting up X-Men and Alien versus Aliens in a separate series. Just remove the mutants from the core Avengers story. Yeah, that's interesting. That would be.
I just got chills.
I would love
awesome.
That. I'm with you there, Flux. I am with you there. Absolutely, Matt. We got you, brother. All right, let's. So anything else with Apocalypse and stuff before we get into, I guess, technically, like, the meat of this story is what I
guess, like, that was like the end of Act 2, really. Like, they've set the scene for you know, how long this, you know, what the plan was, how long it's taken, and then where we're going. I think we broke that down pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, and quick hello to my man 62 Lefty Blues hanging out in the chat. What's up, 62?
See, exactly. Yes. Yeah. When a face hugger impregnated a predator, they fused. He became, so, you know, they it's highly likely they would have absorbed the mutant powers. Yeah.
Dangerous.
So I like that. I like that 62 Lefty. I like that you brought in the AVP. Yeah,
that's deadly. Those I have watched, those AVPs. I like the first one. So cool. It's all right.
Yeah, you know, it gave us lore like that because everyone always wondered what would happen if a face hugger jumped on a predator. And that's what happened. And it gave us a really cool if anything, from that movie Requiem, which was filmed really dark and is hard to watch, they gave us a really cool hybrid of those two species. So good call, 62.
Yep, agreed. All right, so after this, and again, I don't quite remember where I think I just kind of show some generalized pictures here, but because there's definitely a lot to this story. But we get in the coming scenes here, as you can see, just starting from this page or panel, we find out that is an old Iron Man, one that is, you know, we don't get a year per se of when this has happened.
Everyone.
But it's old everyone. Yeah, it's just old everyone.
Yeah, like this is what threw me off. And I wondered if, because of the time dilation that the Wakandans faced, like, did that much time go by?
Right.
Like, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. It's a good question. Yeah, because I mean, the way it was kind of explaining, you know, the story in general, how the aliens took over each of these individual cities and everything else, and then, you know, the X-Men and where they went and all this other stuff. I did get the vibe that it was just over the grand scheme of years, not to say a number per se, but just, not within 6 months or anything. I kind of read it as years, but
right, they would hold off for years if they had the
yeah,
powers of all these superheroes.
right.
They'd be putting
Oh
up
yeah,
a fight for years.
for a long time. Yeah. Now I like that we, as we get this glimpse of Tony Stark just in a wheelchair, looking out over the sky, and then technically now it shows Bruce, but like it's showing the city's like completely destroyed. There's
This is the
fire
last
everywhere.
stronghold. This is the
Yeah.
last stronghold in America.
Yep. And it's like it's gruesome. And really it's just like the Avengers Tower is like still standing there. And then we see Captain Marvel come walking through, an older Captain Marvel talking to Bruce. She references Bruce, and sure enough, we see him, and he's at that in this first page, the bottom right hand corner. So that's Bruce, and they talk. This is what I love. It's like it doesn't catch you up. It catches you up on the story, but without giving you any detail. It just within their talking, they basically just talk about what happened to the Fantastic Four, and it talks a little bit about two of them dying, Sue and I think Ben or
Johnny.
So Sue and Johnny are dead. Died in the accident is what they reference. But Banner talks about how Reed got worse when Franklin and Ben disappeared. Again, just said they disappeared. Who knows where? Never to be seen again. And then he said he was convinced that the universe had been bent out of shape. I was talking about Reed. So Reed had basically like kind of checked out once all this stuff had happened. Now he has a daughter in this. Now I meant to look this up before we got on, but as an FF guy, maybe you can answer this, but I mean, I know about Franklin, but they reference Valeria.
She came way later than from what I collected.
Okay.
Franklin Richards was back in the runs I was collecting.
That's what I remember. Yeah. Okay.
But Valeria was much later, so I would have to be a more modern comic lore to understand that.
Okay, but so she does exist though. In regular,
she exists, I believe, and she's as smart as her dad. That's what they make her out.
Yeah.
In this to have the intellect of her dad and to be persistent like him. So
yeah,
but that was really cool. Yeah, like they're very ambiguous on what happened. What's the accident that Johnny and Susan died in, and Reed or Franklin and Ben disappeared to who knows, to never to be seen again. So like,
yeah, doesn't sound like them, but it might be because they got killed somewhere. But also, it's like it doesn't sound like them to run off or anything like that.
Yeah,
either,
no, yeah. I mean, really. They make you feel in this, like your favorite characters are not around.
Yeah, they hit you. They're like, they're dead. These two are dead. These two are gone.
Yeah,
and the daughter. And now, he brings up the daughter Valeria because he says, I made a promise to Reed before he died that I would watch over and take care of his daughter. And so that's what Banner is saying here to Captain Marvel, and just this is my responsibility. And he's concerned because basically she's not there, and she was supposed to be there. I guess she's been out on a mission. Mm-hmm. She said they'd be back. From what we've gathered, it was kind of Tony's idea, or he supported this idea,
right?
Whatever it was she was doing, we learn here in a few pages. But yeah, that's kind of where it catches us up in this core story of the Avengers. And then we get the word, Carol, gets it in her ear that there's news that she's back, she's returned. And before she can even say anything, Banner turns into Hulk and he's jumping out the door there, or in this case, the wall, as you see in that middle panel. I love that was one of my favorite pages, because like she just goes to turn to him and he's just gone. He's like, he's so eager to see her and save her,
yeah.
So he's out.
He's out. It mentions maybe later in the panels, like. Oh, it mentions later. We'll touch on that later about what Tony says about your Banners, like about him sending out Valeria for that mission, how he was against it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
But no, it really does. Like you said, it doesn't feel rushed. It just, it talks about they're just at their last strings, man. They they've got nothing left but this possible last hope with Valeria.
Yep. Yeah, and then we get into some of these action scenes, as you can see on that far panel there, and of course we get Miles Morales hanging out.
To see this, yeah.
When are we gonna get a web slinger? And sure enough, we get Miles Morales kind of swinging through on his way to making sure, from what it looks like, Valeria's in this vehicle. Very much looks like something Reed Richards would have created. So something from the FF. Her driving through as she's being chased by xenomorphs, and Miles is swooping in, and then of course Hulk comes dropping in. Oh, that was the other thing. Carol says,
Yes.
yeah, command, do we have patrol of the perimeter right now? Is what she's asking. And they go, yes, Captain. Morales has the point. She goes, okay, let him know he's about to have some serious company.
Yeah.
And then the Hulk just drops right in.
Yeah. So yeah, like that like they set up the scene that the Hulk's gonna go out, like Valeria's en route. But like having Miles come in out of nowhere was like, okay, this is great. I mean, it's like pick and choose which characters you want to add to the story, that will elevate it and add to it, which we'll see later. And the ones that were going to die off, like Johnny and Sue, like, so they had a really good, they had a fun time playing with this. But yes, it was super, love the art in those panels. And as we move forward to the next pages and stuff, when we see Valeria getting rescued, the Hulk Bruce may be an old man in that far left panel, but the Hulk's still the Hulk, man.
Yes. Yeah, he is. Yeah, like he's like, they do it in a way. Esad does it in a way where you can tell he's aged, but
Right.
he's still him. Like he's
Right.
not old. Like he does, he's just a little older, as Hulk, like
right. He has more hair as the actual Hulk,
Right.
like he hasn't aged as much.
Right.
But you can still see it for sure in the future.
Yeah, he's ripped. He's still, the veins are coming out of the muscles, that all that stuff's still there. Ryan, Colossus Collector says Dr. Doom is her godfather or something like that, and Doom named her. Oh, interesting. Okay.
That tracks with that name.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, yeah. This is news to me. So
Strong
not as familiar with
girl's name.
But yeah. So some action here, before we finally meet Valeria, and they kind of run with it from there. You want to get into what was she coming back from, and what was she, what's the plan now? You want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, from what I took, see, that's where I got kind of confused on that, Justin.
Okay. Yeah.
From what I took, she was out gathering an egg.
Yep.
Yeah. She was out.
Let me see if I have a picture here.
Trying to get an egg. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, there's a little bit.
I mean, the whole fight, like of Hulk, and I mean, this is a great.
This page.
I love the colors they chose.
Yep.
And that's where you can really see the Hulk aged.
Yep.
The Hulk. The composition with Valeria on the right, yelling, and and just talking about just a 45-year-old divorced woman twice.
Right. Yes, that was a great line.
Like they're still having their banter, and just love the colors they chose for this, for all these panels.
Yeah.
I love it, and yeah, her mission was apparently to go get an egg.
Yeah, and I think so I kind of jump into this next part. Yeah, so she gets this egg, and basically the plan is that she's gonna try to figure out this to create a virus, right? She wants to create another sort of virus that she can take out, because they said, based on the research, the minute now that these things are hatched, it's basically too late, and the minute that they take over a body, we learn,
they said that their mistake was they were trying to figure out how to remove the face huggers once they were on a person to stop the xenomorph from being born, but they learned that once the face hugger's attached, it's game over. Like there's no saving them.
Yeah. Which is
so virus was the only answer, which makes sense.
Yeah. And there was some concerns raised even in this conversation, that they have the whole teams there now at this point, including Miles Morales. They're just talking a little bit about, like, would that be dangerous if we create a virus that's like gets out of hand, or create something more dangerous than what they already are. But one of them's like, hey, they're already dangerous. This is
Carol said there is no worse, Bruce.
Yes. Yeah.
Let her try.
Yeah. So, I just like that there was like a little bit of a debate there. The team has a plan, especially Valeria. I keep wanting to say Valerie, Valeria. So like you mentioned earlier, she's clearly super smart, just as smart as her dad, if not smarter, as you mentioned. So she's a scientist, and she wants to, figure this thing out and go to work. I mean, that's what this whole thing was about. So, they talk a little bit more detail about it, and then eventually they get into, her going into the lab. And meanwhile, we get this scene, which you were bringing up earlier, the kind of Iron Man and Bruce talking a little bit. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Before we do, I guess if I had to do one critique on this comic, it would be that the alien egg isn't the best depiction of an alien egg, as far as the shape goes, and like I'm a pretty hardcore Alien fan, and like I'm looking at one panel where it just kind of looks like a volcano almost coming out. They're more oblong. They have more of an oblong shape until the top opens up, you know.
Okay.
I guess that if that's going to be one critique on this book, that's what I would say. Is the egg looks kind of wonky. But yeah, moving on to what you're saying.
Yeah.
That you know, like Tony's wondering if she can do this, she can pull it off, and Ben's like, I wouldn't bet, or sorry, Bruce is like, I wouldn't bet against her, and they get into it, you know, like Bruce is like, I promised Reed that I watch after her, and you know, you sent her out to do this, and you know, I would have been very angry at you had this not gone right.
Yep.
If she hadn't made it back.
Yep. He would basically blame her, and you know, Tony's kind of firing back, like, hey, like you kind of make us feel like we're all these weaklings, but you know, we're made
it. Yes, yeah.
You know, and he's right. I mean, you know, the Avengers have always been that way, and you know, certainly the FF too. And I would think that you know, Reed Richards' daughter certainly would have that in her as well, as far as you know, toughness and badassery goes.
Yeah, we're all made of sterner stuff than you think. It is not our skin, the outer shell, that defines a person.
Yep.
And they go on the next page, but that's you're right. They're kind of talking of their options at this point. They're like, if this fails, like, well, you know, what do we got to get ready to roll out of here, like.
Yep.
And that's when Tony stands up for, you know, they're not all human. I guess they are part of humanity, you know, like
yeah.
Bruce is part human too, and Valeria and stuff, but
yeah,
it's inside that counts on the next panel. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah, no, it's nicely done how that's put. 62 in the chat says Superman versus aliens. He was impregnated, but finally got into the sunlight, got his strength back, and split it out into space. Spit it out into space. Yeah,
you know, I had those in the 80s. 62. I might have read them and remember something about that, but man, that's great. Or 90s, whenever it came out.
Sounds epic. So let's see. I think if I recall, okay, so I did throw. Oh, you know what? I think I kind of skipped a few things before we get into these scenes. I'm gonna hold off for just a second, because let's. I guess I missed. I mean, I was rushing throwing these last panels together, but
no worries, dude.
This page. Let me share my screen here for a second, or my. So these pages I feel were damn heavy. Basically. Yeah, so it shows Bruce going to check in on Valeria and bringing her some food, and basically saying like, "Hey, you need to eat. Like, you know, you've been in there for X amount of hours or however long she's been in there for, and you know it's good to get some sustenance in you." So he stops by, and then he's getting denied. It keeps saying, "Bruce, Banner's denied." He's using all these passwords, trying to get into this locked laboratory, and finds out that he can't. And when he can't, there's a message that pops up, and that's this message that we have. Sorry, I'm trying to move this over here. And it's Valeria basically saying, hey, if you're seeing this right now, things didn't go so well, unfortunately, and don't open the door. The biggest thing to take away from this page is the fact that she says she had it. She thought she had it, and she made one little mistake in doing so, and time was of an essence. And she said she tripped and fell. And that was a big part of why this all went wrong. For her to not be able to do what she was trying to do, and now things going sideways, we just now get the idea that aliens have taken over and she's no longer with us. So that was, some of these pages were just so emotional, and to see his handprint, he's reaching for her as she's like in tears saying, I tried. She goes, promise me you won't open the door, Bruce. It can't escape the lab. And I don't want you to see it. And she just says, I tried. She's bawling her eyes out. And then Bruce he's like, no. And he breaks into the
I love his fingers go from human fingers to the Hulk fingers.
Oh my God, dude. I did not notice that.
Yeah.
That's a great catch.
He's getting so fired up.
Yes.
And at first I was confused because she said like she used her mom's light bending abilities based on her mom's powers and walked right into the hive. And she isolated and grabbed an egg and slowly started backing out. And it worked, and she would have succeeded, but then she tripped and happened as her fate became what you just explained.
Right.
So I'm wondering, did she have that? She had that egg already in the lab. Did she need another one to test on, and that's why she went into a hive to grab one? Because like she already had one, so I was maybe she maybe she took something from that initial egg to make the virus, and she needed another one to test it on.
Right.
Because I didn't see the point of her doing that unless she needed that second egg.
Yeah, no, that crossed my mind. The other thing that crossed my mind is probably lesser accurate, but it just made me think, what did enough time go by that she had let oh no, I guess they can't let that egg hatch. All right, so never mind. So that wouldn't have worked. I was thinking like if she let the queen develop and then try to learn from it
Right.
that way.
Yes. No,
But
and there must have been 2 eggs because what happens in the next few panels. So she definitely gets infected, and we know that from the next panel you showed where the Hulk was fighting a Xeno. So that's the one that came out of her.
Right.
But there was definitely 2 face huggers in that room. And I can't agree with you enough on that panel that you just showed off, Justin, on how sad it is. Like Bruce was supposed to protect her, and she made one little mistake, and you can't make mistakes with this species. And it was really sad. And I didn't know I was wondering if you picked up on that, where the fingers went from the Hulk.
All I noticed was the Hulk's hand. I was just now looking at it again, and I didn't even bother to look at the one right before that.
She's telling him not to come in, and he was never not going to come in. Like, he's already turning into the Hulk, knowing damn well he's going in. And what a great little touch.
Again. Yeah. And then he comes walking in anyways, saying "rawr." Good call there, Brandon. So then, and now I got the right screenshots here. These are kind of what happens next. At least this one. Again, this book does so good at giving you these full pages at certain moments that, I feel like there's one big page like this in every arc. So, of these 3 arcs that we've kind of broken down.
Mm-hmm.
And man, the Hulk just looks so perfect there, and to see the, alien diving on him, trying to get, face to face, and he's just holding it back. Like, it's so
the alien's awesome. inner mouth down there right in front of the Hulk. You don't have the other panel. You missed the other panel, but where he's getting the acid on him.
Oh yeah.
I can fill it. And I'm like, I got the book right in front of me.
Yeah. And I love the colors.
Yeah, that's what you know what you read my notes through my mind, Justin. I love the color palette that he chose throughout this book, and especially these battles. Just the Hulk's eyes right here. He's getting burned by the acid, but of course it's the Hulk. It's not going to affect him like it would a regular person. So
right.
These 2 are just epic. I love that they showed the Hulk going against the Xeno like that, and that's the one that came out of Valeria. That's the one, and it's so sad that he has to see her like that.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's what I love too with this, is that it gets emotional, this book. I mean, it definitely is able to paint a picture. And again, that's why I'm so impressed by it, is the fact that it's just one single issue we're reading, and you get so many different emotions, and you fully are at the same wavelength as each of these characters. Like, exactly how they feel, what they're going through, what they're trying to do, and you don't need a lot of background. You don't need a lot of storytelling to go along with it. It just does it so well in these few panels. So
you're invested, and you're invested because of Hickman's small amount of writing that he's done in this book. That's taken you there.
Exactly. Eric says, I like Bruce Hulk in this story a lot. I am with you for sure. Now, you want to talk a little bit about kind of how the rest of this wrap up here with your boy Miles?
Oh, geez. It was so sad. I will show this. This is the panel before that. So in between these 2 panels, we get, let me go over here. Oh, I guess it's right here.
Yeah.
If you see, God, I'm horrible at showing stuff on camera. Am I this bad on my videos, guys? Why didn't someone tell me I suck at this? I wouldn't be YouTubing anymore. Where is it? Where you can see Valeria's face.
At the very top right.
Yeah, it's
the very top corner. He says she ran out of time.
Yeah.
You're getting too much of the Venom Wars commercial.
I know. Why is my camera all the way over here? Anyway, right there, her head over there. She's got blood coming out and everything. It's just awful. It's just so sad. The Hulk's holding her. He's so upset, and they realize that this. Carol says it's loose. Keep your eyes wide open. It's in here somewhere. Yeah. So she had that initial egg she was working on. That must have been the one that infected her, And then we now know a face hugger is loose in the room. And that's where we get this panel. All of a sudden, it jumps onto Miles Morales.
Yep.
And they are all just horrified to see, because as far as they know so far, once that face hugger is on you, that's it. You're done. And that's what you're thinking. You're like, oh, okay, so the stakes, they set the stakes, they set the bar high. Every character they lose is one less to really help them in this battle, and their forces are already diminished.
Yep.
Which panel do you have up next? I'm wondering.
And one other thing too that I want to point out was we think about Miles Morales, his awareness of what things that can sneak up on him.
Spider senses,
not too much can sneak up on him, and for this this xenomorph to be able to do this, or this alien, at this point, this baby, to be able to do this again, I think just shows how powerful these things are, and really does a great job of just reminding you this is not just some random alien. This is not just some creature that can, whatever, normally Morales would be able to, catch stuff like that. So that's how quick and dangerous these things are. So I just wanted to point that out, because
that's a great point. I didn't even piece that connection together of how spider characters have those senses.
How are you going to get him?
Sense.
You would think he would be the last to get caught,
face huggers are quick, man. And he doesn't have a second to even react.
Yep.
And it's great that he didn't.
100. Oh yeah. So I think these last couple pages are going to kind of reveal the whole. Oh yeah, these are the last two. So here it is. These are the final pages of this issue.
Let's back up before, just after the panel you showed.
Oh yeah.
Carol's like, we got to get it off. We got to get it off him.
Right.
Bruce is like, we can't. We tried it a million times. There's no mind to control. The nervous system is autonomous. Any attempt to remove kills the host every single time. We got to do something. And Tony's like, burn it.
Yeah,
burn it.
Yep.
And that's when Carol's like, I'm sorry, Miles. I wish there was some other what the hell. And that's when we go into the last page. I had to set the scene for that.
Yes, no, you're right. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I love how Tony's just like, burn it. His face. Let me hold this. Let me hold my brother. His face in this picture.
Oh, yeah, he's like a bad guy in that.
Yes, yeah, 100%. He's like, it looks evil, he looks scary, but that just shows how urgent it is to him. They
don't take chances anymore.
No, he knows how this goes. He's seen it a million times at this point, and he's like, no, we're not falling for that. Let's burn it. And so well deserved to have that serious of a face for that moment. But yeah, sure enough, Carol, she's like, wait a second, what the hell? And then boom, we get hit with these pages that you're looking at here. And you start to see, the symbiote taking over the alien here.
So Miles had a symbiote suit on, huh? That we didn't know about, right? Did anyone know that he had did you know he had a symbiote suit on?
No.
I didn't know that he had, did he do this before to make him more powerful against the xenomorphs at some point? We don't need the backstory, but I love how the symbiote's like, we don't like this body, but it'll do for now.
Yeah. So clearly symbiote Trump, as they mentioned, Trump's the alien,
and Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, two of the smartest individuals that we know, in the Avengers, are just befuddled. They're like Parasite co-ops Parasite.
Yeah,
they're like, and the xenomorph trumps the facehugger, the Xeno, and this is astonishing to them. And what we get born from that amazing idea is this badass suit. Because a facehugger looks like a spider in a way,
Yeah.
So blending that
the legs,
even in this badass suit,
it's like reversed now,
Yeah, and he's like, "Yes, we are fine."
Yeah, we're fine.
The typical symbiote talk, Venom talk. When I got chills, when I read this the first, because you don't know this is coming. You could never see this coming. This is just amazing writing, and something that you feel is gonna gives you some hope for them, that there's something they are familiar with, they control, that is not susceptible. This Miles is arguably the first one they haven't lost to a face hugger attaching itself, because they're like, it happens every time. Kill them. Like there's no use.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think when you first saw this?
Yeah. So real quick before I get into Flux says, as a primarily Alien and Spider-Man fan, the ending legit blew me away. So awesome. Side Quest agrees. Strong parasite symbiote. So cool. Quick hello to the comic collector Coach. What's going on, Coach? Thanks for swinging by. Matt is also in agreement. Yeah, Flux is loving it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I was like, to me at first, I'm like, oh my God, like Miles, that sucks. Like you can't kill Miles off, like, and especially so quick. Like,
but I was like, a lot of other people.
I know. I'm like, but give me some hero, like someone, someone else. Like you can't just be Carol and Hulk,
They gave you something, all right,
dude. Yeah, so like, him turning into this. I'm still very much learning a lot about symbiotes and how they work, and reading. I'd read a little bit with the Donny Cates stuff with Venom when that was going on, and some other tie-ins and things like that along the way. But to have enough of an idea and knowing like that's so cool that this symbiote is stronger than, or more powerful, and the way it talks, like you said, you get the voice of what the symbiote talks, and just very much like Venom and Eddie, we don't like it, we don't like this body, but it'll do for now. The way it just shows that that the faces that you're talking about, that panel, the faces of Hulk and Iron Man looking down like what? Just mind blown. Yeah, dude, the suit, everything, the all white, and look, hey, this is what we were highlighting at the very beginning of the show, right? Boom. There it is. So little reverse spoilers. That's what you get right there.
So for question for you in the chat, I mean, this seems like a tide turner to me. And I'm not familiar that much with symbiotes and the Venom lore either. But, this symbiote has now controlled this face hugger.
Yep.
Does that, and please chat, chime in, help me out understand it. And I don't know if you know, Justin, does that control of that one face hugger affect how any other face huggers would be around a symbiote? Like, I can't imagine, is there any hive mind on either end? Is there a hive mind for face huggers, which I don't really think there is. I just think they're this, tool that they know their only job is to implant MVO, but our symbiotes, do they have a hive mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because this is obviously meant to be a tide turner, but that would even be more so powerful. I mean, how is he going to use this now? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, so I know there are in certain comics, and I'm trying to jog my memory on it, but like there is communication between the symbiotes to some level. And I can't even recall like what books I was reading with that, but communication of like, them coming to Earth or wherever, trying to find whatever. So I at least from what I can remember, maybe I'm wrong, but that's a great question. Yeah, I'm curious. Anybody, whether you're here now or if you're watching the replay,
everyone's feverishly Googling.
Yeah. Do it. I'm definitely. There's some more research I got to do.
Because I want to see. I mean, this is huge for their side to figure out that a symbiote. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see it coming. Not 100 miles away that they could figure out. Say, oh, a symbiote is a parasite, and we'll make that trump a face hugger.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see how it's going to turn the tide, but I need an action figure of Morales.
Oh, good idea.
Face hugger. What a great, if you love both properties, what a great piece to own to show. It was just amazing. What a way to end an issue.
Yep. Agreed. 100%. Very much spot on. I mean, and this is where I'm just like, I read this and I'm like, shoot, man, I need to read this again. I need to get other people to read this because this is just insane. And at this time, it was only issue 1. Like you didn't even get to dive into issue 2 yet. So absolutely loved it. The whole issue, if we want to talk about the issue as a whole, from the artwork, Esad Ribic, again, absolutely crushed it as usual.
I love him.
His style and really like the shadows and the shading that he provides, like it's very much dark vibes through a lot of this. He did this in the recent Eternals run, 12-issue miniseries that he did, and very similar in that regard. He sticks to his the ways that he knows how to draw best, and he nails it every time. So artwork absolutely gorgeous. And then of course Jonathan Hickman just knocks it out of the park, and honestly he does it in a way that's like with the Krakoan era and some of the stuff when he first started that, there were definitely moments in some of those books of his, and I'm talking about X-Men right now, where he would take a full page and just give you almost like a novel style where it was like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, and I appreciated that too, and I honestly thought we were going to get some of that in this, because that's a great tool that he usually uses in order to embellish on some story building or some world building, and we didn't really get it here, and nor did we necessarily need it. That's what I was like most impressed by. And again, I don't mind that stuff. I do like it because it does help catch you up on certain details, and that's how Hickman kind of does for a lot of his writing. But he didn't do it at all here, and yet he was still able to just show this massive world. And I think this is overall like 45 pages or whatever, for anybody wondering page count wise. But for a modern book, modern 45 pages is definitely not the same as something from the 70s or 80s. But like, yeah, Hickman just nails it, as usual. So that's was an automatic for me. And Brandon, before I throw out your way, because I want to hear your thoughts, I want to say a quick hello. I saw my man Alonzo in the chat from Team Nerd Herd. Good to see you, Alonzo. Appreciate your brother for swinging through here. And then also Eric says all instincts with huggers. I think the symbiotes have a hive mind. Okay, yeah. So sounds. I thought they had something like that. I don't know if it would be called a hive mind, but yes, something to that effect. And Matt says you are so right about that action figure, Brandon. Brandon, give me your kind of overview, final thoughts on the book here.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back just a few moments ago, what you said about how like I have no. This is my first Hickman piece I've read, and you talk about your experience with the Krakoan area and how he used the paragraphs to, break down a lot of stuff. And here he didn't need to, and he's even more like. When did the Krakoan era stuff come out? By the way, what year was that?
It's like 2001. 2021. I think it was like right after the pandemic. Like I think 2021, 2022 is where it was starting to launch off.
Okay, so we're in 2024. So. Yeah. Either he's evolved that much as a writer to say, hey, I can do this quicker in a different way, or maybe this story doesn't need that because it's two franchises that everyone knows a lot about. But he even more so, you get these there's some big battle splash pages, or not splash pages, but it's whole panel pages
that take up,
where it's just battles and there's really no dialogue.
You are absolutely right.
So those are 2 pages gone to explain the story. Yep. And you don't even feel like you missed anything. And you're so grateful you get these bigger than life art battle pages that you really appreciate from the beginning to the middle to the end. And you get them all the time. And, this book was sent to me as a gift from a friend. And like I said, I'm a huge Aliens fan and as an Avengers fan too. I read it, and that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What wonderful writing and art. I fell in love with both the guys, Esad and Hickman right away. Yeah. And that's when, I don't know when I had started talking to you, but that's when you're like, oh, there's only, maybe it was you. And there's only 2 issues out. And that's when I went and bought the second one on eBay. And I sprung for a nice variant cover by Paco Medina that's just gorgeous, and I like the composition, and I tore through that, and I've read like 4 times now.
Yes,
and the other one I've read 2 or 3 times, and I'm all in. I think this was a great way to cross over the franchises. You feel a lot of despair for our heroes, like there's no way for them to win this, really, especially with the care that whoever did this took with the probes and how they implanted the aliens, and I think you do have to just suspend disbelief a bit. I mean, because we all think superheroes are so powerful, but they just stuck to their guns with the alien lore. That forget about superheroes, everything you know about that. Like aliens, within the films, were the most deadly species in the universe.
Yeah,
the face huggers, once they attach, they have acid for blood. You can't get them off who they're on. That person gets impregnated. They violently discharge the birth. It breaks through their rib cages. Yep. The alien itself, metamorphoses into a large being really quickly. It's got acid for blood. It's got a knife-like tail. It's got claws. It's got sharp jaws within jaws in its mouth that can punch out. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, it really is the deadliest creature in the universe, and they make it known in this. And I just couldn't be happier about this series. I'm just so glad that you wanted to take the time, Justin, to sit down. And I love
man.
your idea of swapping channels. And now I say next month we do this one. We visit in January. We hit 2025 hard. Middle of January, we'll come back and we'll do the second episode.
That sounds great to me, man.
But I love
100%
it. It's so
down.
fun. Anyone in the comments, in the chat, or watching the rewatch, if you can pick up a copy of this, they're not expensive.
Yeah,
And the art and the story is just wonderful. If you're a fan of either franchise, do it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reprints now. So, if you missed it the first time around, or that, like I said, the copy I have, this is a reprint, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to a third. So, they're out there. If you get a chance,
I've looked up. You can get this for $6 on eBay. I think if you're a Scotty Young fan.
Oh, even better. Oh, I should clarify. Technically, like the original price is $8, so it does cost double what a typical comic costs right now. So, but again, it's a 45-page book, so it's also a lot more pages than normally what you get. So for anybody, details on
I
that,
spent $8 on stupider stuff on a daily.
Yeah, same.
So I don't get to keep and enjoy forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Eric says, I was worried about the series coming out because of all of the other matchups already out, but man, it delivered with how bleak it would really be. Yeah. Well said. I mean, it definitely, Marvel can definitely overdo things for sure. And I know that there were other a lot of different matchups we talked about earlier. So I could totally see you being a little nervous about it. And especially being, if you love aliens, you're like, please don't ruin this for me if you really like them. But luckily, ended up being
they're giving them the love they deserve. They're like it's not, and everyone could think, oh, superheroes will just take out aliens. Well, when you have a horde, when they've infected a whole planet, it really is a game changer.
Oh yeah, anything like, and especially like viruses, things of that nature. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking.
You can't beat it down with muscle.
Right?
Like
exactly. Yes.
So that's a big thing. And I love, like, again, some of the panels we highlighted, but I'm just so happy that we got to see Hulk against a xenomorph, like in that shot, and there's several ones. Even in the next issue we go over, there's variants and stuff like that. But I always like would find it so cool to see Alien versus Hulk. Like, what would that even look like? And boom, we get.
And what is acid with the aliens? Acid hurt the Hulk, which it doesn't. It just pisses them off a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it just sticks them off a little bit.
It doesn't. Yeah, great nerd questions that you would sit there with your friends having a beer and ask.
Oh, yeah.
Would this happen or would this happen? We get those answered in books like these, and I'm here for it.
Yep, exactly. Matt said, if you guys weren't doing the series, I would have never read this. I was so glad I did. So, dude, man, that's awesome to hear, Matt. I'm glad that you dove in with
Mission
us.
accomplished. That's what we do this stuff for, to get this word out there about this great stuff.
Exactly. So there it is, gang. That's the review for issue 1, Aliens versus Avengers, for Brandon and myself. Again, if you guys are not following Brandon over at M.O.N Comics, make sure you do so. I put his information in the description below. We'll figure out a date for the next, we'll come, 2025 January. We'll figure out a time, date. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you think we missed anything, anything else you'd like to see, things of that nature. But Brandon, before we go, anything you want to highlight here, or before we wrap things up, or any final thoughts?
Oh, no. I mean, that was great fun. I hope you're going to come. Colossus Collector is having his Christmas show tomorrow night. I hope you're going to come hang out in the chat.
We're going
to do shows. We're going to do giveaways. So anyone in the chat wants to come do that. It's so crazy, Justin. So you and I set this up like a month ago, maybe over a month ago.
Yeah.
And I knew Colossus' stream was coming on. And then Jeff and Joe from the Comic Book Canon reached out to me and they're like, do you want to co-host Sunday? So if anyone hasn't streamed or streamed Sunday, I'll be co-hosting with Jeff and Joe and Josh over on the Comic Book Canon channel.
Oh, nice.
So hang out. I've got a full weekend stream, but that's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. But I was so excited I was looking forward to today. I was like, I had a long day with the kiddos, hence these beers, me and my wife.
Yeah.
So it was nice to sit back and talk comics and break this down. So thank you for having me on your channel, Justin. I truly appreciate it. You're a great dude, and this was a blast. Can't wait to go in. I can't wait to see where this goes. This is insane.
100%, man. Right back at you. And yeah, I'm with you. To note, yes, tomorrow night's Ryan's live stream is going to be awesome. Definitely highlight or recommend swinging by. I'm going to try to at least swing by the chat for a little and check everything out. So have fun with that. And then joining Jeff over at the Comic Book Canon. Those guys are great. I haven't.
Did you meet them at Terrificon? Did you get to meet with them?
Not I've met Jeff before.
Okay, that's where I
at
got to
King
meet them
Con,
in
but
person. I talked to them
yeah.
through their stream and bought from Joe because he has amazing books for sale all the time.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, those guys are funny. That might be the funniest YouTube show I've seen. Like the way those guys banter back and forth is hilarious.
Dude, so I was watching it back when Chris was on the channel with Jeff, and
Yes.
they had me on a while back, probably 3 years ago at this point, that I was on the show with them, and I've stayed in touch. I haven't talked to Jeff in a while. I hope he's doing well. All love for him and everything he's doing, and I know Chris is doing his thing as well. But those guys are great, so I'm glad to hear you're jumping in with them. I'm gonna have to.
I don't want to get into.
When is it? When is it on Sunday?
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, okay, nice. I'm gonna see if I can swing by that then.
Yeah.
Oh, I will. Well, yeah, I'll be home by then. I'm going to the Ravens Giants game here in Jersey because the Ravens are visiting. I know you're a Steelers fan, but I gotta just say, I'll be catching some football, but I do want to check you guys out.
21st, buddy. You and I are gonna be on Instagram going back and forth. That's a big one. That's for us to take the division.
Yeah, you guys are.
We'll have fun at that game. That's gonna be a blast, dude. That's gonna be awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we got really good seats. A friend of ours, we're gonna be at like 12 seats back from where the Ravens are gonna be running out of the tunnels. So if you get a chance to watch it on TV, maybe I'll be there waving somewhere.
I want the big no good comics.
Yeah, right. I should
with your YouTube, like a QR code.
Yeah. Try to get Lamar on my channel or something.
There you go.
That'll be the sign. Hey, everybody in the chat, we appreciate you. Thanks again for swinging by. Yeah. Definitely. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody.
Yeah.
If I don't know if I'm gonna have any other streams coming up before Christmas for myself here.
Oh, I have one next week. I have the Big 5 Live on Friday.
Oh, there you go.
So I've got me, Mike from Lunch Money Comics, my buddy Steve Driscoll, Cody from Where'd You Get That, and also Patriot Comics are going to be on. So that'll be my last stream before the holidays. Then I'm taking a hiatus into January. Probably until we do our next breakdown. I'll take a little break because it's been uber busy with the holidays.
Nice. Oh, I do have this Wednesday. Well, I have. Hello, I have. I'll be
we're doing a lot of stuff we forgot about.
I forgot. Yeah, I'll be on with John, not on this channel. But next Tuesday, it'll be his channel for the X-Men. But then also, I will be back on this channel for Origins. My buddy Conlon Comics. I'll be interviewing him for his.
Oh, I'm interested to see that. I first learned about him through Mike too at Lunch Money. And
nice.
Conlon has some great videos. Has an awesome collection.
He's a great dude. I got to get you on the show, Brandon. I know we'll figure it out.
We got all 2025. Brother.
Yeah, going to the new year, we'll figure out it have to be a different day, but maybe a weekend show. Except I'm doing Wednesday.
You'll know everything about me by that point.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, gang. Well, we appreciate you all for watching. If you're watching the replay, thanks again. Make sure you're subbed up to Brandon. We'll be on his channel next time. Smash that like button on the way out. And until next time, we will talk to you later.